Hello, I'd like to further muse on David Icke and beyond. If we went back to those days when they were made, we were made. One of the things in Lloyd Pye's discourse is he talks about how the mitochondrial DNA, which is passed on intact on the maternal side, when they discovered they could identify that, and they thought, right, we can go back and find a lot of information, it stopped at about 250,000 years. So, there you go. That would be the start of it. Could have been one great big breeding laboratory of bodies in and out. And if you think your longevity is such that somebody rules for 60,000 years, then breeding program for humans would be perhaps like us, breeding mice that multiply every 3 weeks, or even a fruit fly or something. Not quite a fruit fly, but with a purpose. And if we think as well of how, again, like sacrifice body and mind, and Lloyd Pye goes into this, how they possibly spliced a couple of chromosomes to make it fit, 23 apiece. So, is it possible actually they became pleased? Did they recognize aspects of ourselves that pleased them? Did they grow compassion? Did they have a kind of kinship? Was it discouraged? Don't be friendly with them too much. How many different characters were there of themselves? Did they possibly have to go into quarantine when they came to us? Did they ever leave? Are they the deep rumblings of the spirits that flow through us all? Because you quite often hear talk of demons, but I mean, what's most likely? Or is there a difference? You would automatically be a demon if your purpose was contrary to the host or the indigenous or whatever, the lab rats. Good and evil. Did they flip? Did the one that fell go into a certain part of the world and occupy minds while the others tried to battle him? We want to save them. Do they overlook us, and are there some that want to save us and others are manipulating us towards our doom because that's what they feel, just like modern day world? It's like a mouse squinting at Einstein while he takes a shit, you know. He might be a genius, but for that split second, he knows exactly what he's doing. What else could we say about it? You know, maybe it was distasteful. Maybe when they came here for the gold, they didn't tell the people back home that they actually did get involved in this genetic modification down there and used one of their own. Could be classified. It's classified up there, I tell you. Classified for 100,000 years. So there must be parallels. But religion, you know, he created all things bright and beautiful. But it couldn't be a green man from elsewhere. It has to be one omnipotent God. We like our God singular. In fact, it's been encouraged, hasn't it? You know, the Greeks were crazy because they believed in lots of gods, but we're saying because we only believe in one. Religion, man, that's been right there at the beginning. If you had to live through a power of the mind and manipulation, you get your religion going. Maybe another alien split off and started another religion, much to the annoyance of the original one. How about that? They're like, no. But if you're all about making the people dance to your tune, and if the power's in the mind and not the body, then could it eventually be resisted, you know? It would also, if part of us was from elsewhere and part of us was from the earth, it would also possibly mean that parts of us can harmonise with the earth and find its ways and belong to that, but at the same time be pulled away into another. So we don't actually care for ourselves, we're serving another purpose that we don't quite understand. There's so much of the mind that we don't use, and that you see guys like the Rain Man, that Michael Peen, he is capable of incredible feats. He could memorise a phone book, memorise it with the pages turned horizontally or even upside down. Now that kind of, Lloyd Pye talks about this, he calls it slightly cruelly, I think, idiot savant, but these permutations of incredible powers of the mind, accidents of birth, little genetic slips, giving us a glimpse of perhaps the true potential. And also something else that often strikes me about autistic is this failure to connect. Could it possibly be that it's, if you're more in an identity of another, you're actually finding it hard to relate because it doesn't somehow feel right? Part of you belongs inexplicably elsewhere. Were people bred? Were the breeding lines in the human race that were knowingly bred to be more conductive, or because there was more of a certain kind of tendance? More like breeding dogs because for their behaviour than any kind of genetic manipulation. Just selective. And also the variety of us would be quite explicable coming through a fact, coming through a process, all these permutations, slightly different coloured and things, they go back to being the roots. And then if you've created a race as well and you're not going to use them immediately, why don't put them in a proliferation around the world? I mean, let's face it, if you got here, you can fly around the world and drop a few people off and see how they go. I'm pretty stuck on the idea, really, because I cannot understand why, when we've reached this day where we have the power to communicate globally and we can see the problems, we're stuck in this eternal game of bombs. And I'm old enough now to see for what it is. It's insanity. And it's divorced. You see, if you don't care for the earth, you're following another path. We are of the earth, in essence. But part of us is distracted. Tell you come across some obscure things like in the teachings of Don Juan. Some Indian shaman up in Peru or Mexico, wherever he was. He actually said, yeah, they came amongst us and they did a terrible thing. They left us their minds. Now, how would he come up with such an obscure plan as that? He saw them, he saw two on a bus, said they were egg-shaped. You find this spiritual explanation running through us everywhere, and without the obvious mysteries like crops, circles that are so intricate and so chemically altered on the ground that I'm sorry you didn't do it with a string and a plank. Or the pyramids, the vanity of still thinking that you did it when it was some powerhouse that we can scarcely imagine. Yeah. Well, I got nowhere near where I was trying to get, but if you're interested and you just fancy the crack and you got absolutely nothing better to do, for which, I apologise, but how you do it? There you go.